The regular monthly meeting of July 25th,
2024 was reconvened and called to order at 8 p.m. at Memorial Middle School, 1200 First Street, Media Center, Fairfield, New Jersey. There are 7 members of the public in attendance. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Valdowski.
Here.
Mr. Manta.
Here.
Dr. Bertolini is absent. Ms. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Pavelovich.
Present.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mr. Spindell.
Present.
Ms. Yerman.
Present.
Mrs. Mayhem.
Present.
We will run.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies of which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fairlawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record in the Star Ledger. The announcement posting to the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, and time thereof, was distributed on June 14, 2024. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to go back into closed session?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We will be approximately a half hour. We will be returning and certainly action will be taken. We'll get to our regular agenda then. We're sorry to hold up the public. We've had a heavy hearing agenda and exactly. We're moving it along as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Someone's your stuff. When we weren't here, within 15 minutes, you're allowed to leave.
Can you hear me? Is it
Ms. Gabelevich?
Present.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Ms. Yerman?
Present.
Mrs. Mahan?
Present.
Meeting on.
Dr. Dionisio, Superintendent.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody is enjoying their summer. It's good to see everyone. The school district has been extremely busy since we had our last meeting with a great number of projects across the district. Primarily, as many of you know, summertime is an absolutely amazing opportunity to be able to do improvements to our facilities, to our grounds, to our buildings and infrastructure. So Ms. Mancuso, Mr. Yobs, the entire facilities team has been doing a tremendous job. And the main reason why we are actually here this evening at Memorial Middle School, and we'll be here again in August, is because the Edison School is having a roof replacement. So work is coming along very, very nicely. But we will be here again in August, and at that time we will be able to provide an update on the progress that has been made in anticipation of opening up school. I see in the back of the room we have Rebecca Vogt. Ms. Vogt is our new communications liaison for the district, our new communications officer. So she joined us on July 1. We are very happy to welcome her as a member of our administrative team. The interview and selection committee was incredibly impressed with her credentials, her background, her experience. She has really hit the ground running in getting to know the team. So welcome, and we're extremely excited to have you on board.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you along this processing period.
We recently, on July 16th and 17th, we had an administrative leadership retreat meeting over the course of 2 days. A combination of a lot of professional learning and team building that was very energizing for the group and really reflecting on the past year that we've had and working together on looking forward on establishing our goals for the upcoming school year. So we actually had much of the work happening happening here on both days. And we had a number of activities, and it was really a great experience. So we're very much looking forward to the work that we will continue to sustain in the coming months and all of next school year. And then last but not least, I saved the best for last. We have the conclusion of the superintendent report. I'm going to pass the torch to Dr. Lakatina this evening because she's going to have an assessment update that she's going to be presenting that's part of the requirement for the Department of Education. As I understand it, I believe the deadline we recently received August 15th, and our next Board of Education meeting is not until after August 15th. So we are required to be able to present that information. So we're going to give her our undivided attention. We thank you for putting that presentation together on such short notice. And I want to turn it over to Dr. Lakatina at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Dionisio. We're just going to pull that up on the Promethean board there. So good evening. Tonight I'm going to report out on the results of the NJGPA that was administered this past spring to our grade 11 students. Of course, it does not want to. Oh, there we go. All right. Didn't want to cooperate at first. Thank you. So first of all, just to remind you, the NJGPA is required by the State Department of Education. We must provide an assessment to all of our students in grade 11. The NJGPA consists of two components, ELA and mathematics. Each of these is scored separately, and students receive a score to indicate whether or not they are graduation ready. Those are the two scores. You either are or you are not. The ELA component is aligned to grade 10 standards, while the mathematics component is aligned to Algebra 1 and geometry standards. So students have to meet a minimum score of 725. If they don't, currently, this class of 2025 has some alternatives. We are not sure what's going to happen in the future, but as of now, there are alternatives. So the first step would be to retake the ELA or mathematics portion if you did not pass. We will also provide supplemental support for our students to assist them with that. And then after that, there are a variety of other assessments that a student can take: ACT, Accuplacer, SAT, and similar assessments. Those scores can be used as a substitute for the NJGPA, and if students meet that cutoff, that will count as indicating that they are graduation proficient. If that does not work, then we have something called the portfolio appeal process. And you might remember that I reported on that back in February, where our students were actually just getting to that point. We had about 7 students, I believe, that had to take that last year, and all passed, all are graduation ready. So again, as I said, you are either not yet graduation ready if you score below the 725, or graduation ready if you score above that. So one of the things we need to report out on is our participation rate, because we need to have a 95% participation rate. And you can see we had 425 students that could have taken this assessment in ELA and math. We had 420 of our students that were that sat for the test and got enough answers to be able to get a valid score. So you can see that our participation rate was a 98.8%, which is really great. So you will see here, I'm going to bring your attention to that red circle. What we are showing you here is how did our students, our last year's 11th graders, how did they score in ELA and math? And how did that compare to the state of New Jersey? So in ELA, the state of New Jersey, the average was an 81.6% passing, and our current Fairlawn 12th graders have a 92.4% passing rate in ELA. So 92.4% of our students are graduation ready in ELA. In mathematics, the state of New Jersey has a passing rate of 54.7%, and in Fairlawn, our graduation ready rate is 78.1%. And again, sometimes there are, you'll notice on a lot of our slides that everything might not always add to 100% due to rounding. So if you're looking at that, it's not always going to be 100%. So that is how our students did. We're very proud of them. This slide actually shows you how have our students done over the past 3 years. So this test was fairly new. In spring of 2022, it was actually a field test. It did not count for graduation proficiency and the graduation testing requirements. You can see in ELA, we went from 54.5% for our field test. The next year's group of students, 86.8% were graduation ready. And again, this past spring, 92.4% of our students are graduation ready. So we have been improving each and every year with the percentages of our students that are taking this assessment and showing that they are graduation ready. In mathematics, in 2022 for the field test, we had a 68.6% passing rate. In 2023, that went up to 78.1%. And again, last year in 2024, we again had 78.1% of our students meeting graduation readiness in the area of mathematics. On the next 2 slides, you're going to actually see all of the subgroups that we need to report out on. So it shows you from left to right, because it is a little small: female, male, Hispanic, Latino, American Indian, Asian, Black African American, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, white, 2 or more races, or not indicated. So on these slides, we need to have 10 or more individuals in each subcategory in order to be able to report out on the results. And that's for confidentiality reasons. So that's why you might see an NA, which just indicates that there were fewer than 10 students in that category. So again, these are percentages of students in each category that are graduation ready. This slide is showing you the other subcategories, and these groupings are not economically disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, general education, which does not include the students with disabilities, students with 504 plans, not MLs. The other category is MLs. It says ELL. We now call them multilingual learners. And then we have not migrant students and migrant. We actually do not have any students identified as migrant in this district, just so you know. So again, you can see we have scores really for every category there, meaning that there are more than 10. There are 10 or more students in each of those categories. So again, you can see that we did quite nicely in most of those categories. So what are some of the notable achievements? So our Fair Lawn 11th graders last year scored higher than the state average in ELA by nearly 11 percentage points. The percentage of Fair Lawn students who are graduation ready in ELA increased nearly 38 percentage points since we first started taking this test 3 years ago. Fair Lawn students scored higher than the state average in math by 23.4 percentage points. And the percentage of Fair Lawn students who are graduation ready in math increased by 9.5 percentage points over those past 3 years. So we're happy to see that growth in our students. So on these next two slides, you're going to see some of the interventions that we put in place to help our students to gain proficiency and graduation readiness. We have academic level classes in ELA for students in grades 9 through 12. We cap the class sizes at 16 to make sure that we have a lower student-teacher ratio. We have Learning Ally, which allows our students to access grade level texts. So it's more on their grade level, their reading level rather. We put into place timed reading and writing units to get our students used to that kind of an assessment environment, that kind of an activity. We also use the NJSLA and NJGPA rubrics to support all of the essay work. So again, students are used to being scored according to the way these assessments score our students. Again, lots of resources for our staff thanks to the support of the Board of Ed and the budget. We have lots of resources, leveled readers that are online, in print. We have resources such as Newsella to support our students, in addition to the Learning Ally that you saw a couple bullets above that. And we also have open response questions so that students in math, modeling and reasoning is always that one area that kind of trips up our students, and so we make sure that we incorporate certain kinds of questions throughout the years in math classes so our students get used to that type of assessment question. We've done lots of curriculum work. Again, thank you. You've approved lots of those workshops over the years for us, and we have modified our curriculum. We do data analysis, and we look at those standards and areas that, again, are challenging for our students, and then we go back and look at our curriculum to make sure that we are providing additional support for our students, making sure we hit those priority skills prior to our assessments so that students are exposed to those high priority skills. We have an Algebra 1 math class, an NJSLS or NJGPA math class at Fairlawn High School. We have resources such as Alex software that helps, again, support our students with practice in Algebra 1. We have math ancillaries, so we have additional support in those classes to support our students, bringing this teacher-student ratio even lower. We help our ELL or our ML students in their Algebra 1 classes as well with additional teacher support. We have our Fairlawn High School Honor Society that assists our students with tutoring. Again, we use our Link It all the time for data analysis, and we can create very targeted skills groups in that platform so that we know how to group our students in order to teach them on the skills that they need in order to be successful on these assessments. And then we also have co-taught and pull-out math classes available for our students. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
First, thank you for the presentation and for putting it together so quickly then. This is more of a larger scale question, so I don't know if it's applicable to Fair Lawn per se and in your role. But across the state, it seems that students are struggling with math. And this is a state issue. And has the state taken any actions or said any ways that they're going to start addressing this? Because the field test has been 2 years ago now. So it's not just a fluke. They've had 2 years to address this. Is there any interventions from the state that will be coming to the schools?
Nothing that I'm aware of. It's interesting when you look at the assessment scores. We have a higher percentage of students getting graduation ready scores in ELA, but yet the spread between Fair Lawn and New Jersey in math is huge, right? So our students in math are really outperforming compared to other districts across the state. So we're just going to continue to work on our curriculum, as you can see again with our workshop requests that we make. Again, huge focus at faculty meetings, department meetings, grade level meetings with data analysis. We're always looking at that and trying to figure out how we can continue to supplement what we do in the classroom. And we take a look at that even in October. We'll do some more NJ GPA makeups or retakes rather, and we will look at that information and data analysis and react to that. Through our grant writing, as well as after school for students. So we really try to provide as much support as we can for our students and continue to move ahead even if the state doesn't necessarily give us anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I can speak. Thank you so much for the presentation. What kind of I'm a little upset is that 22%, 92 students out of 420 did not pass the test. And I understand we do all these wonderful interventions, but I think one of the things that we should look at, and I've been trying to in committees and education committee, but unfortunately last education committee in June, we ran out of time, so I was not allowed to discuss it. And this month education committee meeting, it was canceled because we have no topics, even though we do have topics, is the curriculum for grades K through 4, which is the everyday math. I think everyday math, as a math expert, someone who has a master's in math, has been teaching math, has devoted most of her adult life in math, is not easy to understand. I look at the kindergarten curriculum and it's all words. They don't know how to read yet. And you're expecting them to do things that are all in words. And I also looked at the curriculum. It keeps jumping back and forth. If kids don't have great foundations in K through 4 math, no matter what interventions you do in middle school and high school, they will never understand math. It's just because it's the teacher will say, well, they should have known this topic, they should have known that topic, and therefore we're just moving on because we need to get through the curriculum. And I think we need to really think about the math that is taught K through 4, which is the foundation. And unfortunately, for example, I think it was 3rd grade, it talked about bar graphs, then it talked about time, then it talked about pie graph. It had no rhythm or rhyme to it, each chapter. It's very hard for parents to help their child with everyday math because some of them don't even understand what they're asking. I've been advocating for Singapore dimensional math. What I like about Singapore dimensional math, it's all very picture-based. And when you have picture-based, parents can help because they're like, oh, this is what they want from me. Great. Kids also see it. It also has a lot of equity in it because when you explain the material has different characters and they explain different, this is Emma what likes, this is what Deshaun likes, this is what, and it helps kids understand. So although we do a lot of interventions starting 7th grade, and I think that's wonderful, I think we need to do a better foundation. There's 2 high schools currently that as much as I did research, that do Singapore math. That's Milburn and Livingston. And both of their math scores have been exceptional, above and beyond what Fairlawn has. And I think our kids are wonderful, smart, intelligent, and we should be able to think about doing a different type of math than everyday math, especially since parents can't most of the time help their child with this math and they don't have the right foundation. So although we pat ourselves on the back that 78% passed the state test, we should get 95%. Because we should have better foundation for our children. Thank you.
So thank you for your comments. So just a couple of things. We actually are using everyday math K through 6. We have been so thrilled with the results from K to 4 that we actually moved it into 5, 6. And since we've done that, we have seen an increase in our 6th grade scores on our standardized assessments. We used to see a dip in 6th grade, and we don't really see that dip anymore. So we're really pleased with that. The everyday math actually has a spiral approach. So what that means is we constantly are revisiting concepts. So we know that when you do things once, it's easy to forget it. But if you revisit it over and over again, it helps you to remember. So the everyday math takes a spiral approach where every couple of months it revisits the topics and reinforces it for our students. So that, again, is another thing that really we like about the everyday math program. I was in the role of elementary principal when it first got instituted, and yes, it's different for us and for parents because it's not how we learned, but we have found from the very beginning that our students are mathematical thinkers. And I'm going to give you a very quick example. We had somebody doing a demo lesson in a 2nd grade. This was years ago. And she was doing something with charts and graphs, and she asked the students, boys and girls, how many boys are in the class? So a kid raised his hand and said 10. And the teacher said, great, well, how do I write that? Because she was going to write it on the chart paper. And the student said, 2 times 5. And the teacher was really surprised and said, well, you know, that's true, but how else can you say it? Well, it's 11 minus 1. Somebody else said it's tally marks. Somebody said it's an X. That's Roman numerals. And finally, the teacher said, okay, or it's a 1 and a 0. Because that person who is my age says, you know, how do you write the number 10? And most people answer 1, 0. Our kids became such amazing mathematical thinkers in 2nd grade that not one of them gave that answer. They thought about that in 5 different ways. And that's the beauty of this program, is it helps kids to approach mathematics in multiple ways. It's not just one way to solve a problem. There's a home link that goes home for parents so they can see what is lattice multiplication, what is all of this stuff I'm not aware of. There is a companion that goes home specifically for parents for guidance, every single parent. We did look into Singapore math 2 years ago. We were asked by this board. We looked into Singapore math.
Point of information, Natalie, I'm actually going to be sending that presentation to everyone this evening.
Oh, perfect. We gave a presentation, and what we found was that Singapore math aligned to the standards like everyday math is. I think that the bottom line for us is we have seen tremendous performance from our students in math. Again, when you see how far we outscore students across the state of New Jersey, it's hard for me to say that our mathematics books are not doing the job that they should. And we are going to continue to work with our students to get more and more of our students to be graduation ready. That is what we are called upon to do, and we will continue to do that. I'm myself and the supervisors and the administrators and teachers, we're very thrilled with how our students are doing using everyday math books. Any other questions?
Michael.
Just a comment. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I was watching it back there as I was listening, as I was having computer problems. I just want to tell a story real quick. When I first came on the board, and this is a long time ago, I was very interested in everyday math. And the reason I was interested in everyday math was because when it first came into the district, I actually did my student teaching in 5th grade the first year it was in the district. And as a matter of fact, it was the last thing that I got to teach was math, because the teacher, my supporting teacher, was actually learning the math at the same time I was. And there was a lot of professional development given to the teachers. And I got some of that professional development, which was good, because otherwise I would have done worse. Well, I bombed that lesson, and I had to do another lesson on math for my last thing before I graduated. But anyways, I was very interested 2 years later when I got on the board to see the difference in the test scores, if there was a difference in the test scores. And what was amazing was there was a tremendous difference in the test scores. As a matter of fact, it was actually amazing how much we went up in test scores. Now, saying that, to be fair, everyday math has changed over the years. They've had updates and everything else. I have a niece who went to a pretty prestigious private school for elementary and middle school. And they were using everyday math. And my sister was really uptight because she couldn't understand everything. And
1 minute.
what? Okay. And I said, just give it time and look at the parent book. And it ended up that it worked out. I think the problem is in the test, not necessarily in the programs, because most of the schools around us are seeing the same rates practically. So that's just my opinion on it.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
I had a couple questions because I noticed on one of your slides that you had co-taught math classes. So I was wondering if you could speak to how many co-taught math classes you have in each grade, and whether or not are those classes capped at the 16 students that you had referred to, I think, on the previous slide to that. And then I know our ELA scores are very good and they're a lot higher than our math, but do we have co-taught ELA classes as well that are supporting students?
Yeah, so I don't have the numbers of those classes by grade level. We can certainly get that. I don't have that data with me. We do have them in ELA and in mathematics. The ones specific to here are high school that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is with our additional ancillary support. I mean, it could be anywhere between 8 and 12-ish with our ancillary support. And there could very well be more once we start looking at some of our special education classes, but I don't have those numbers.
Thank you. I also wanted to know too if maybe those co-taught classes also being trickled into like a science course, because in the science courses you do a lot of like the modeling with the math and really having to critically think through the math. So are there co-taught classes that are going cross-curricular to help support too? Because I think in a roundabout way that could help support the math scores as well.
So with our MLs, we do some of that.
Yeah.
I'm aware of. I'm not necessarily aware of any other subjects. But definitely with our MLs, we assist them, not full-time, but periodically we do provide our MLs with support in social studies and science as well. I don't know. Mr. Krinko, if you want.
We have paraprofessional support in those classes. Sometimes we have ancillaries in those classes, and that could be something that we discuss as we talk about the budget for the 24-25 as we prepare for the next school year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Yerman?
Just make comparisons of like the everyday math and single format, just to mention that didn't have some of the, I guess, curriculum that everyday math covered. What makes two different math programs that one is okay for New Jersey curriculums and one that doesn't hit all the holes?
So I'm going to stop you for a moment. Point of order, this Q&A is particularly about the presentation. If we'd like to talk to curriculum, we can defer that back to the education committee. At this point in time, I'm going to please ask that everyone refer their questions specifically to the presentation. You can ask another question for the presentation. Lisa, are you done?
I just wanted to do just a simple example. I didn't want to go into it.
I'm just trying to, I want to make sure that we're just keeping it to the presentation.
Well, I think it has to do with how much better our English can be when our English is higher than our math. Usually you find that your math should be higher than your English.
I'm going to defer to our council.
Can you give an answer in 3 sentences or
Yeah,
less?
that's what
School districts are allowed to choose and adopt the textbooks of their choice. Their job is to address all of the New Jersey student learning standards. And if the textbook does not address it, they will have to supplement it through other materials. Makes sentences.
Anyone else?
Mark, do you have a question?
No, I'm just wondering why this is like.
Okay, Ms. Eldridge.
Just to reiterate, starting Algebra 1 geometry, higher level math, we don't do spiral approaches, we teach everything in
Point of information, we are specifically answering questions directly related to the presentation. You're not talking about curriculum here. So unless you have a specific question that is related to the presentation, I'm going to ask again that we limit our conversation to presentation questions so that we can move on to the agenda.
Well, Dr. Katina actually talked about it.
It is not related to the presentation. I am going to ask everyone that we, unless you have a question that is directly related to the presentation, that we move on.
Okay, last thing. So just saying, 78, so practically 25% of our graduating students that took the test did not pass the math section of are not graduation ready. Unfortunately, in my personal opinion, 25% of students not passing the test is not a good sign. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Okay, so we are moving in to public comments. to public comments on agenda items only. Please limit your questions at this time to agenda items. Please provide your name and municipality in which you reside and sign in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. This is not a dialogue between the speaker and the board. All comments will be taken at once, and when comments are complete, the board president or district administration will respond as best they can. The floor is open. Do we have anyone on the Google Sheet?
We do.
Great.
We have one. We have 2 comments, but only one at this time that's related to an agenda item. So Erica Mulkey, noted as Fair Lawn educator, states, "Welcome to the new hires, especially my younger sister, Jessica Mulkey. I'm so excited for you to be a fellow cutter in the Fair Lawn School District. My home away from home. You're going to absolutely love Forest and make such a difference in the lives of many kiddos. Congratulations." And that's all I have in relation to agenda items.
Okay. The floor is closed. I will now open the floor to board member comments on agenda items only.
I wanted to congratulate the class of 2024. We are approving their graduation today, so congratulations. I will not vote on the textbooks because I believe every textbook before you adopt it should be piloted. Most of the publishers have online textbooks, so you can pilot for a year with different authors and determine which textbooks the whole department will use. Just looking at a textbook by not teaching it is kind of wasteful because I, as a student, went to Fairlawn High School and many of my textbooks were beautifully stacked in the back of the room and never used by anyone. So I will be voting no for that. I will be voting no for the webmaster because the stipend, which is of $10,000, 7E6. The reason why I asked if there's a job description for this position, and I was told there's no job description. So the district will be paying $10,000 without knowing exactly what will be accomplished. So therefore, I will be voting no. I will also be voting no on I will also be voting no on, on the policies tonight because we received the policy on Saturday. And 5 policies, we are not allowed to discuss it. Only the people in the committees are allowed to discuss it. Every time I've tried to discuss it, which is my job as a board member to make policies and adopt policies, I'm always told it's 8 o'clock at night, it's 9 o'clock at night, we shouldn't discuss it, we will not discuss it. So therefore, I will not be voting yes because I am prevented to do my job as a board member by allowing me to discuss policies during the board meeting. Nextly, I'm asking again, this is the second time that I'm saying that the administration is not following bylaw 0155. An agenda is what you're going to be discussing, and minutes is what happened in the meeting. If you look at bylaw 0155, line number 7, it says clearly, committee agenda shall be sent to the entire board, not just the committee members. Unfortunately, the board only receives the minutes, not the agenda, which is clearly says, which is clearly a part of the policy 0155. I'm asking again, this is the second time I'm asking for the administration to follow this bylaw. Thank you.
Floor is closed.
Wait, I can go second time around. You didn't even finish your 3 minutes. You said once at 30 seconds, didn't you? I gave you 30 seconds at the end. Do you have more to talk about? Yeah. I will come back. You said 30 seconds, and I assumed that second go around so that I'm not in the middle of my sentence. Okay, so on the bills, I saw, it says Ruby Delicio, $215.88. I asked for the bill, and I was given a bill for $360 for Treetop Adventure. I was wondering, why is there a discrepancy what's on the bills and what's on the bill that actually represents the amount? And then lastly, I wanted, actually, I'll talk about it after. Thank you.
The floor is closed. Can I get a motion? Ms. Mancuso will get back to you. She does not have the information in front of her.
I'll vote no for it since I'm not explained why there's a discrepancy. And why is there? It was. It was. You gave, no, I didn't know there was, I asked for the bill and it was not explained why we're spending on treetops.
We're not having a back and forth right now.
But I don't know.
Dr. Dionisio can answer what he can answer. I'm going to defer to him.
Thank you, Ms. Mahan. So, Ms. Favelovich, so the board and the administration are actually in accordance with bylaw 0155. I've repeated this. I've actually answered this question in public meetings on several occasions. The Board of Education does receive, even if you're not on the committee, does receive the committee agendas. They're all shared with board members, including yourself.
But
So
they're not sent.
Please.
you should check your email.
Hold
Because
on
they're
one second.
they're
I'm
sent.
just going to remind the entire board, this is not a conversation or a back and forth. Any board member who has asked a question, we will do our best to answer it, but it is not a conversation or a back and forth among board members and administration. I am asking everyone to be respectful of that and abide by that precedence that has been in place for several years.
And then, thank you, Ms. Mahan. And then lastly, as Ms. Mancuso has already stated, the bills list will be provided. It was provided in accordance with the request, and it will be provided if there's some other bill that you're requesting, then the administration will follow up accordingly in the future.
I think you misunderstood my question. My question was, on the bills list, it was $215, and when I asked for the bill, it was $360. So my question is, why did we spend $360, and why was it only reimbursed $215? Why is there a discrepancy in the two numbers? That's what I don't understand.
Because they're two different reimbursements. I don't recall what the reimbursement for professional services was.
Treetop.
I didn't finish yet. So Treetop was a reimbursement for leadership retreat location that was off-site. That's what Treetop Adventure is, around team building. The $215 is a reimbursement for a professional service that I paid out of pocket. So both of those are things that I paid out of pocket for the district, and to be able to be reimbursed in accordance with our procedures. Okay, so if you have a specific request, that'll be followed up by Ms. Mancuso in the business office, as we stated earlier.
But I just want to make sure we understand the 0155, it doesn't say look at board docs, it said sent. It literally says the word sent.
Point of information, again, this has been asked and answered. All of our emails should be checked regularly, both in Outlook and Google. We have had this conversation both in closed and in public session. We have two emails. We are all now aware that many of our emails, when it comes to Google Docs, goes to our Fairlawn SDS email. I have sent reminders in order for everyone to remember to check that at least once a week. If you are not doing your due diligence to check that, as well as your Outlook, you are welcome to put notifications on both emails to ensure that you are regularly getting notifications if that comes to you. Thank you. Can I get a motion for 3A?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
No, but there's just an error in numbers of one particular vote. And I forgot to mention that before, I apologize.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 5A through E?
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta, Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich,
We are what number?
5A through E.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 6A and B, and then 6D through G?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Can you come back to me, please?
Ms. Pavelovich,
No on 6G.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
and Ms. Brown,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 7A through Q? Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
I apologize. We're voting on 7? Okay, yes.
Ms. Pavelovich,
No on 7B15, 7D2, 7D6, 7E6, 7,
sorry, 7D6
E6.
and E6, okay.
7D2, 7D6, 7E6, 7Q1. I'll repeat again. 7B15, 7D2, 7D6, 7E6, 7Q1.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
I'm going to abstain on 7D4 and yes on everything else.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 8A through C and F?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 9A through H?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 10A through E and 10G through Q?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Pavelovich,
No on 10C, 10J, as in Judy. I'm sorry?
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell, Ms. Yurman,
No on 10J and yes on everything else.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I get a motion for 11A and B?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich?
No on 11A and B.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yarman?
No on 11A and B.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
This is the public comments on non-agenda items. Please limit your questions at this time to new business. Please provide your name and municipality in which you reside and sign in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. This is not a dialogue between the speaker and the board. All comments will be taken at once, and when comments are complete, the board president or district administration will respond as best they can. The floor is open.
Hi, my name is Assunta Trishka, and before I should go on, you want me to register?
No, push a button.
Oh,
I'm sorry, can you
Hi.
also print your name?
Yes, I'll do
Well,
that, but I may
thank
not
you.
speak because I may have a misunderstanding of the agenda, public comment requirements, because this is, you said, only new items?
You can talk about, so it's not necessarily new items. This is just information that you'd like to discuss that's not on the agenda.
Which is not the same as new item, because this is an item from last month's agenda.
it's
So I want to be
technically-
sure that I'm good to go.
I think you're good. It
Great.
really should
Okay.
be called other
Awesome.
business.
Perfect. Great. Just don't want to be,
Can
you
you
know,
repeat your
kicked
name?
out in the
No,
middle.
no,
like,
no. Can you repeat your
hey.
name again for me?
Yes, my name is Assunta Trishka. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm a lifelong Fair Lawn resident, class of 1978. I'm a mother of 2 Fair Lawn High School alum, Sean, class of 2012, Zoe, class of 2019. I'm a retired public school teacher, having worked at Thomas Jefferson Middle School in Teaneck for over 25 years. I'm talking fast because I want to do the time. I'm currently an adjunct professor at Bergen Community College and a Montclair University mentor for student teachers. My comments are about the last, something on the last agenda. Time ran out, so I couldn't share. I don't really feel that Google form is the appropriate form for me. It's specifically about Fair Lawn High School guidance counselor Dina DeSantis being moved from the position of from guidance to middle school student assistance coordinator. I met Dina in 2008, first as an audience member at Back to School Night, but also through emails related to a battle of the bands that she was organizing to benefit a veteran in need of service dog. If Dina had helped us with the last-minute registration of our son's band, they wouldn't have won. And that was really just a sign of what was to come for the next several years. Dina, right there when you need her to help students and also sometimes parents, whether it was her ready and nuanced knowledge and guidance about courses and scheduling, selecting and applying for colleges, or her no-nonsense reality checks or comforting counsel when kids needed it. Dina always provided the appropriate support. I cut out a bunch of stuff. Hopefully I'll be under time. Sometime in 2015, I began planning Fair Lawn's first Relay for Life, an overnight benefit for the American Cancer Society. This was a major undertaking, and I needed a core but small group of folks who I could count on to be reliable, resourceful, and respectful of everyone's time and agendas. And of course, I went directly to Dina. I asked if she would be on the leadership committee, and without hesitation, she signed on. She worked tirelessly to get our relay off the ground and to enlist colleagues, recruiting art teachers to have students create gifts for cancer survivors, working with Interact and Honor Society advisors to boost participation and volunteering for the event, and to support me in ways I didn't even know I needed. I could go on, but mostly I can't stress this point enough. Kids see what Dina does. They see her commitment to what's best for them, her commitment to service and rescue dogs, her commitment to the community at large. They know that she, along with her colleague Kristen Burke, is responsible for the military tribute memorial in front of the high school. She is a force of nature, 100% committed to her students and simultaneously committed to putting service above self. She is an exemplary role model for young people of Fair Lawn High School ready to go out into the world of college, work, and civic responsibility. Those are the notes I wrote for the previous meeting, but I wanted to add this question for the record, whether it's answered here or not. Can the board explain why taxpayers such as myself are not owed an explanation as to the process involved in determining why a highly qualified, experienced, dedicated, and effective Fair Lawn High School guidance counselor
not to mention handsomely paid, is being transferred to a position she didn't seek and for which she is neither highly qualified nor recently trained, and will be paid the same amount she currently receives, which is approximately $114,000 a year. This is approximately double, from my understanding, of the average salary for a middle school student assistance counselor. This seems like an unusual use of taxpayers' money and certainly doesn't seem to be in the best interest of both middle school or high school students. So I'd like to understand, to put it plainly, if the board's policy, understandably, is to not discuss personnel issues publicly, can it nevertheless explain the process by which such a decision is made? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Google form?
Yes, there are two other comments. One in particular is actually something that is stated that relates to confidentiality related to a student and a family. And upon consultation with board counsel, it would not be appropriate to share these comments in public to protect the student and family's privacy. So the administration will be following up directly with that family tomorrow to be able to address those concerns and answer any questions privately. So hopefully, if that parent is at home, they just heard that, and we will be following up accordingly with them. The second comment is from Olga Ginsburg from Fairlawn. The comments are that I would like to follow up on some of the most frequently mentioned opportunities in the thought exchange survey that I strongly agree with. Number one, the school lunch quality. This was a shared concern by the parents and students. I understand that our school lunch will be provided by the same company that provided lunch last school year. Therefore, I would like to understand how the concerns shared in the thought exchange survey are being addressed. Can we expect healthier, different school lunch choices in 24-25 school year? Number two, video instruction and electronics use, Chromebooks and smartphones. Many parents mention the overwhelming use of the smartboard, video instruction, educational video games, or YouTube videos at recess in elementary. Has this been looked into, and how will this be addressed? Is the district considering new smartphone policy regulating or limiting the use of personal smartphone devices and social media in our middle/high schools? Thank you. In response to Mrs. Ginsburg's questions and comments, the thought exchange feedback is something that the administrative team continuously takes a look at and reviews. Both of these are items that the school lunch topic has been something that's been a topic of conversation for a number of years. Most recently, Ms. Mancuso and the team have made significant strides and improvements with Mascios. As with any situation, there's always an opportunity for continuous feedback and to continue to improve. The administration has worked with Mascios, provided them feedback, and as part of the iterative process, we'll continue to take a look at areas that can be improved upon and continue to get feedback from our students. As far as video instruction, electronics, cell phones, that's actually something of late that has really popped up again. I mean, I feel like we talk about this quite frequently, but most recently there have been a few articles. The last board meeting or two, we had some members of the public also comment. The author, Mr. Haight, Dr. Haight, has recently written a book citing a lot of research. The APA has recently come out with research. I think it was back in April. So it is something that our administrative team is taking a look at as part of our examination of our policy. That's something that we're going to be looking into in the coming months, but also looking at how we can implement something into practice that works for our community and works to support our students and works to support our teachers.
Are we good with the Google form?
Yes.
Okay. So at this time, just to follow up with you, Ms. Trishka, we do not discuss personnel. However, I can refer you to policy 4130, which is the assignment and transfer of staff. 4130? Yes. Okay. The floor is closed. Board member comments. The floor is open.
I'm just going to say I'm going to speak twice so that if nobody else speaks, please let me remember. So the Fairlawn TV, I've been advocating that Fairlawn TV will pick up our meetings since February. I was told I had to go through a lengthy committee process. First, the Finance Committee had to discuss it. Then the Shared Services Committee had to discuss it. Then we had to wait for the Fairlawn TV. Fairlawn TV has emailed the district almost over 2 weeks ago, and the district has not responded. I'm just wondering, is there a reason there's a hesitation to put our videos on Fairlawn TV? Because it seems like if somebody writes an email from Fairlawn TV 2 weeks ago to the administration, within 2 weeks, I think is a reasonable time to respond. Maybe I'm wrong. So I would like to ask the administration, where is it that if not by August board meeting, I will just make another motion for it to be put on Fairlawn TV, because the Fairlawn TV is more than happy to put our videos on their website, on their TV, and unfortunately something is not being done, which I don't understand. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I wanted to go back to the math curriculum. Higher level math, starting algebra, geometry, and calculus, pre-calculus, whatever you want to do, is not a spiral. Even in Fairlawn High School, we don't have integrated math. We have it where it's algebra 1, algebra 2. If spiral approach was so wonderful, then we should have integrated math. Integrating math is the same spiral approach. It doesn't work. And also people, for example, I am an EL student or MLA student, whatever you want to call it. My first language is not English. My parents, looking at this book, my parents would not be able to help me with math. They would not be able to understand. And I know people say, oh, there's a booklet that can explain you everything. That requires you to know English very well and be able to understand. And there's people that have discussed that have a college degree, have to call their friends to help them with everyday math. And that's a problem. I know as a person who has a math background, I ask high school teachers, give them the book for everyday math and ask them, do they really understand? Do they think it's very thoroughly explained? And I guarantee you, most high school teachers will say, this doesn't make sense to me. So I really hope that we can think about Singapore math. Also, if it did not cover all the curriculum, Livingston and Milburn, one of the best districts in our state of New Jersey, would not have them as their math curriculum. If you look at their scores for grade 6, 7, 8, 9, they're amazing. And there's no reason for us not to have that. We have wonderful students and wonderful teachers, so we can definitely get those kind of scores. But I think we need to change it, especially since 25% of our students, almost 25% of students, are not graduation ready. So that's a problem in my book.
3 minutes. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, statements? Mr. Rosenberg.
Because I'm tired of hearing the same subject over and over again, can I ask that the math department take a look at the math program and see if the math department are experts?
High school.
I'm actually going to, point of information, it was handled in 2022, and without a consensus, we cannot move forward with this. So if you are making a motion, that is your choice. If not, we can defer it.
I
to the
will not make a motion
Then
at a
you
meeting.
can request that we defer it to the education.
Can you
committee.
defer it to the education committee to see if the math department will take a look at it?
I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
That's our experts.
Great, okay.
Ms. Brown.
I'd also like the use of smartphones in schools to be deferred to the education committee as well.
Noted.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Vailovich.
So since school lunches has been a very important topic for many people in Fair Lawn schools, I was wondering, can the board with their dinners see what the school lunches is? Because our dinners don't compare to what the school lunches is, because we just approved the menu. We should have, the school lunches should be similar to the dinners that the board should have. This way, the board can actually see what they're feeding the children. If it's good enough for our children, then it's good enough for the board.
Point of information, the Finance, Buildings and Grounds Committee was provided a number of those samplings back in February, Ms. Mancuso? I got to benefit just because I was leaving.
I don't remember the exact date, but yes, it happened this year.
No, I'm not saying only a few selected board members. Every board member should be privy to this type of lunches that are served our children, not just a privy of 3 board members or 4 board members, whatever it is. I think everyone, and should be whatever's on the menu for that day. So on Thursday, if you have hamburgers and cheese, that's what we're gonna give, hamburgers and cheese to the board. Same thing, or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But I think it would be fair, so that as a board, when people have concerns about our school lunches, we can actually say, yes, we ate them, we like them, or no, we don't like them. Well, anyways, so the first thing is I Oprah'd this. The administration hired a company called Sky Dillon to, and I'm gonna quote this administration was, to rebrand our school. It's Sky Dillon Design. The contract says that they will create a new monograph to rebrand our schools. So basically, the Fair Lawn logos and all the logos that the students have in each elementary school, middle school, and high school will be redone by a company. As a Fair Lawn graduate, and this will cost the district, the taxpayers, $20,000. What I found interesting about this contract is the Fair Lawn school representative on the contract did not sign it, did not stamp it. It's only the representative from the company signed it, but not the person not anybody from that represents Fair Lawn. Second of all, it was never approved by the board. And third of all, as a graduate of Fair Lawn High School, I am proud that our logo was made
20 seconds.
Was made by a student, and it's student-oriented. That's what makes Fair Lawn. Not a corporate company says, here's your logo, enjoy. I would want for our students to make our logos, for our students to have contests with them, not a company, and not pay $20,000, which could be used for something more useful, such as adding better furniture for elementary schools, improving some of our rankings for elementary schools, things like that.
Thank you, your time is up.
Thank you.
I just want to point out that taxpayer dollars go to all Oprahs that take up time and energy of our administration. So I do appreciate that there is some taxpayer money that goes toward the rebranding that all of our community had a hand in, but so do the Oprahs that we get daily that takes up quite a bit of time.
I will.
Did you hear Julie?
I will. If you'd like to. Sure. Before you get, why don't you go ahead and speak to the contractual component?
Very quick. So
I'll just respond quickly just to the contractual piece. So the purchase order is what I sign, and that serves as the contract between the school district and the vendor. So even if that, I'm sure that we do have a signed copy on file, but that's just a quote. It doesn't mean anything. The signed contract between the district, yeah, I'm telling you, that doesn't mean anything. It's the signed purchase order, which is the state required document for the district to make a purchase. So we're in compliance.
Thank you. This is not a back and forth. She answered the question. Your time is up. Ms. Ms. Yerman.
I would also like to refer the cell phone situation to the Finance Committee so that we can look at any technology or pieces of cases, or I forgot the name of it, but.
Oh, the Yonder.
Yonder, yeah.
Okay. If everyone is comfortable, I will refer it to education first and then finance. They're typically opposite weeks.
Okay, yeah, just so that we get an idea if we're gonna do X, that we know how much it's gonna cost and all that. That's it.
Not a
Thank you very much.
Okay. The floor is closed. Dr. Dionisio, would you like to respond to anything?
I would love to. So as the board knows from my communications related to Sky Dillon, the Sky branding, it is an initiative that the district has undertaken. It is one actually that has come from not only members of the board, but members of the community. I too am always impressed with student work. The current logo, actually, for those who don't know, was actually developed and designed several decades ago by our students to replace the prior logo. So every so many decades, it's an opportunity for us to take a look at our district and actually how we are communicating. And during my interview process, and I believe I've shared this with the board before, I'm not sure if I've shared it with the public, but one of the main areas that the board was really committed to, amongst a lot of them, was how we're communicating with our messaging across the board. And the design and the cohesiveness across all 11 buildings is critically important. We do have a cost that's associated with that, but these professionals are not doing it in a vacuum. They have sent out a survey that we've received, I believe, 500 or 600 responses from our community members through the design initiative, or I should say the discovery phase, which is phase 1. We've also had focus group sessions with almost 200 members of our community, also open to the entire Board of Education. So the history and the traditions of the Fair Lawn Public Schools and the Fair Lawn community are integral, right? Because it has to symbolize whatever the new logo is going to become, it has to capture what Fair Lawn Public Schools are. And that's really the goal and the initiative of the professionals. And the way we found out about this is actually similar to the way we found out about the NJ Well program that we've recently implemented in the district. And it was actually at the New Jersey School Boards Association convention, where other districts were there presenting on their rebrand and alignment of their messaging. So I think it's a great initiative. We've received a lot of really wonderful feedback, and we're in the discovery phase now, in the design phase, around taking a look at all of that. And then we have an upcoming meeting with Sky Dillon Associates in order to be able to start to work through that, and we'll keep the board apprised of the progress. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Our upcoming meetings are August 22nd, 2024, which is our regular monthly meeting at 7:30 p.m. here at Memorial Middle School in our media center. Bring a jacket, it gets cold. And then September 26th, 2024 will be our regular monthly meeting at 7:30 back in Edison School. We should be up and running well before the opening of school. 26th. Can I get a motion to return to closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Please know that action may be taken. We will be going into closed session at 9:48. I'm going to ask that everyone take a 7-minute recess. If you need to go to the bathroom, please do so, and meet us back in the STEM lab. Thank you all for coming.